Women are nearly half of the U.S. workforce, but hold just 27% of jobs in science, technology, engineering, and math, also known as STEM. At the same time, the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics anticipates the need for 1 million more STEM workers by 2030. With World Heart Day approaching, we wanted to discuss the advancement of women in STEM, as well as gender equity in cardiovascular healthcare. Joining us this morning and here to explain more is Divisional Vice President of Global Clinical Affairs, Abbott Dr. Jennifer Jones McMeans. Welcome, Doctor.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're happy to have you on, and I'm glad we're talking about this morning. I wanted to start off by asking you, why did you decide to pursue a career in STEM, and how did you get started?
Well, growing up, I knew that my grandfather, my father's father, was a physician, and my dad was one of the first graduates of the PA program, of physician assistant. And so every time I would have dinner with my dad, I was asking tons of questions about what were your patients like? What did they have? How did you treat them? And so I just had this general curiosity on the body, disease, how the body works, that continued to grow throughout my time in school and as I entered into college. And I pursued a graduate degree in a science of the human body, as based on all of my interests that I had.
Yeah, it's not, so you definitely had that passion and that interest early on. So why do you think women are still not a larger percentage of the STEM workforce? And have you noticed that working within the field?
It's a great question, and I think part of it is visibility. If you think about our young women, our young females that are in anywhere from elementary school, middle, high school, many times they may not have an awareness that there are women in STEM careers, and STEM careers maybe that they don't see, maybe in something like aeronautics, computer science, mathematics. We know that there's some great NASA scientists that are females, but if there's lack of visibility for our young women, they do not know that it's a possible option. So part of the work we have to do is bring this visibility to our young female students that are currently in school.
Yeah, I was going to say it can be intimidating wanting to pursue a career in a male-dominated field, but when we see that representation through women like you, let alone women of color, it helps allow other women to see that it's possible. What advice do you have for young women today who might be considering a career in the sciences or engineering?
Well, I do want to say none of this is insurmountable. And so if you have a general curiosity for how the world works, so why is the sky blue? How are buildings made? What's the content of a cloud? How do they make airplanes? And these are all questions that STEM can actually answer. And so your best bet is to start with STEM education. But I think what's really important is that we've got to provide the mentorship, the support for these young women so that they are actually able to partner with individuals who are actually in these careers, and we can help train these next generation of female STEM scientists.
Yeah, having the support system is definitely needed. And how do you think having more women in your field would benefit women's heart health?
Oh, this is a great question, because we know that I would say that when it comes to cardiovascular disease, women are not small men. And so it's very important that we have women who are focused on the care of women. As we know that when women present with heart disease, they present differently. And it's very helpful if you have women at the helm who are able to, who number one have experienced this based on their gender, but also they've been trained on it. And so this in fact can actually help with women being heard about what they may be presenting with. I have a great colleague, Dr. Pania from Hamilton Health Sciences, who's an interventional cardiologist, and she always tells me, she goes, when a woman presents with cardiovascular disease, and I have to do a treatment on their heart artery, she goes, I have to take a different approach and strategy compared to men. So this type of awareness from female physicians is very important for the treatment of women.
Yeah, and you talk a lot about the need for greater equity in women's access to cardiovascular care. What do you mean by that?
Well, what we do know is that I think it's two levels. So one is that it's in the training of having more female physicians who are part of not only cardiovascular care, but also the clinical trials that we use to develop these new therapies. So that's one effort that Abbott has worked on with combining programs with Woman is One for the CLIMB program, which is to train up the next generation of female trialists, but also when it comes to women and their participation in clinical trials of cardiovascular disease. We want to know how the therapies are actually working on women, but we have to be intentional. So companies such as Abbott in doing the work and ensuring that women have an awareness of clinical trials, especially in the cardiovascular space. And we provide levels of access, be it some type of support services and education, so that the women know that trials are available to them.
Doctor, it's so inspiring hearing you talk about this. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. And here's to changing the face of STEM. For more information, visit stem.abbott.